Writing the history of action models tempts you to treat the past as a series of broken attempts. You should resist that framing. This is not a history of failed methods superseded by better ones. It's a history of the bottleneck moving. At every move, the previous era's methods keep solving the problems they were always good at.
The eras compound. They don't replace each other. Almost every modern VLA still relies on a classical inverse kinematics solver somewhere in the stack. Almost every legged locomotion controller still relies on a hand-tuned reinforcement learning reward.
The 1970s were the era of symbolic planning. Action models started out entirely symbolic. Look at Fikes and Nilsson's 1971 system, STRIPS. They built it for Shaky, a mobile robot designed to navigate a physical lab and execute tasks given in natural language. If you told Shaky to push a block off a platform, the system reasoned through logical predicates. Actions operated as discrete functions with rigid preconditions and effects. Moving a box required a precondition that the robot was near the box. The effect then updated the world state with the box's new coordinates. The abstraction STRIPS introduced survives today. PDDL is its modern descendant. It remains active in contemporary benchmarks and hierarchical reinforcement learning systems. High-level reasoning remains difficult to learn purely from data. Representing the task layer as discrete logic still works perfectly fine, even when the underlying motion layer operates on fully learned neural networks. The real dividing line separating Era 1 from the rest of the robotics stack isn't some clean split between symbolic and learned methods. It's the shift from manipulating discrete sets of logical operators to emitting continuous low-level motor commands. The 1980s to 1990s defined the era of geometric and dynamic robotics. Researchers treated kinematics, dynamics, and motion planning as applied mathematics. None of these methods learned from data. They didn't have to. Teams derived these techniques directly from mathematical models of the robot and the task. They locked down the exact physics of how joint angles, velocities, end effector poses, and torques related to each other through known geometry. This made the control problem extremely robust. Physical movement became a deterministic calculation rather than an educated guess. Era 2 proved some problems are easier to write down than to learn. Inverse kinematics for a 6-degree of freedom arm is just a small system of equations. Forward and inverse kinematics, computed torque control, and path planners like RRTs and PRMs aren't legacy techniques you just throw out for a neural network. They form the load-bearing substrate. Modern learned policies operate right on top of them. Deploy a modern vision language action model, and it produces a desired end effector pose delta. An inverse kinematics solver from this era turns that delta into actual joint commands. An Era 2 collision checker decides whether the hardware should even execute that path. The math still guards the hardware.
There are 6 more episodes in this chapter. Subscribe and they'll turn up.
Moving into the late 1980s to 2000s, we see the first learned approaches. This period brought the first credible attempts to learn an action model from data, treating the policy as a function approximator optimized against a reward or a demonstration. Reinforcement learning for robotics grew from scratch here. We got wild individual demonstrations like pendulum swing-up or robot table tennis. Researchers operated under severe compute constraints and primitive sensors, and existence proof that a robot could successfully learn to return a ping-pong ball purely from trial and error was heavily compelling. Pomerleau's Alvin in 1988 acts as a direct ancestor of modern behavior cloning. It used a fully connected neural network with a single hidden layer to map a 30 by 32 camera image of a road directly to a steering angle. Alvin actually drove a van across the United States in 1995. The era still failed to produce generalization across tasks. The data problem was acute. Collecting robot trajectories in 1995 was manual, sparse, and expensive. Each system was rigidly hand-engineered for its specific task. Transferring learned behaviors to a new environment stayed completely out of reach. The 2013 to 2017 period marks the arrival of deep reinforcement learning. We generally date deep learning in robotics to Myth et al. In 2015. Their paper wasn't about robotics. It proved a convolutional neural network could serve as the function approximator inside a Q-learning agent. By 2017, researchers trained end-to-end visual motor policies with guided policy search. They dragged in heavy algorithmic infrastructure. Replay buffers stored past experiences. Target networks stabilized training updates. Advantage estimation calculated expected rewards. This proved a deep neural network could independently digest raw pixel inputs and output actions without intermediate manual feature engineering. The algorithmic toolkit stabilized fast. TRPO, DDPG, PPO, and SAC became the standard tools you still see in papers today. Era 4 expensively discovered the brutal limits of deep reinforcement learning on real hardware. Interacting with a physical robot for millions of episodes destroys motors, it takes months. Simulation became the required workhorse. Sim to real, the pipeline of training and simulation and deploying on physical hardware, grew into a massive subfield saved entirely by domain randomization. By aggressively randomizing visual textures and physics parameters like friction or mass in simulation, policies could successfully transfer over to the physical world. This directly enabled the legged locomotion successes of the late 2010s like Animal, Cassie, and Spot. A quieter parallel track from 2017 to 2021 pushed deep imitation and the sequence model turn. Researchers rediscovered imitation learning out of pure pragmatism. Reward design is brutally hard. Try to write a reward function for pouring water into a cup, and the robot will often optimize for something absurd. It might move the cup out of the camera's view, so the penalty calculation fails. Showing the robot a demonstration is cheap and unambiguous. This realization led to scaling up the original Alvin idea with modern convolutional architectures. They generalized to unseen tasks the moment natural language instructions became inputs to a policy. Simultaneously, the transformer architecture began appearing in control sequences. The decision transformer cast reinforcement learning as a sequence prediction problem. It fed in state, action, and return-to-go tuples to predict the next action. The closed-loop trajectory is the natural unit of control. Researchers realized a transformer was the ideal architecture for parsing sequences built from diverse, mixed-modality tokens. They heavily leaned on the exact vocabulary that foundation action models would soon require. They successfully blended visual inputs, continuous sensor readings, action tokens, and language conditioning into one coherent predictive stream. The foundation action models era runs from 2022 to now. It begins with RT1, a transformer policy trained on demonstrations across hundreds of tasks, establishing a canonical action tokenization scheme. RT1 was a generalist, but reads as a primitive baseline next to RT2. RT2 made the conceptual leap defining the field today. It took an off-the-shelf vision language model and converted it into a policy backbone. It slotted discrete action tokens into the bottom of the vocabulary. By forcing the model to output text tokens mapping to physical joint movements, the policy inherited the vast world knowledge of a system trained on the internet. The open-source response arrived with OpenVLA. It's a 7 billion parameter vision language action model trained on 970,000 trajectories from the OpenX embodiment dataset. OpenVLA doesn't matter because it's the strongest VLA available. It matters because it's the first one a graduate student can actually download, run, fine-tune, and modify without needing access to a massive industrial compute cluster. While language models favor discrete action tokens, a parallel track abandoned them entirely for continuous heads. Systems like Octo attached a diffusion head to a transformer backbone. Pi0 plugged a flow-matching head onto a Pali-gamma backbone. By training on tens of thousands of hours of robot data, continuous heads bypass blocky quantized movements. This allows Pi0 to produce dexterous fluid behaviors like laundry folding and egg packing that earlier discrete VLAs couldn't manage. The 2025 generation added a dual system architecture access, splitting the load between a slow vision language system 2 for semantic scene understanding and a fast sensory motor system 1 for real-time control. These exist strictly because running a single 7 billion parameter forward pass is too slow for the inner control loop of a humanoid robot. Today, the Model Zoo includes dozens of named systems pushing efficiency frontier checkpoints designed to run on consumer GPUs rather than server racks. The basic recipe of pre-training on internet data, fine-tuning on robot demonstrations, and decoding has fully stabilized. Looking across 6 eras and 55 years, there is exactly one direction of travel. It's marked by a strictly monotone trend of relying on progressively weaker forms of supervision. The field began with the rigid rules of Era 1 and the exact mathematical models of Era 2, demanding total human specification. As compute expanded, the required human input loosened. We moved from the handcrafted rewards and small data sets of Era 3 into the massive simulated environments required by Era 4. By the time we hit the sequence models of Era 5 and the internet-scale data of Era 6, researchers were combining cross-embodiment demonstration corpora with vast vision language datasets. They drastically reduced robot-specific supervision to achieve far broader generalization. What stays constant across all these eras is a rigid 3-slot anatomy defining the systems we build today. Every system accepts inputs, produces outputs, and requires a training signal. What changes is merely which slot gets designed by hand and which gets learned from data. For an engineer today, this shared anatomy means you can directly compare a 1970s symbolic search tree against a modern flow-matching transformer to understand exactly where your bottlenecks sit. As we keep offloading supervision from human engineers to unstructured internet data, you have to wonder when the action models will stop needing human demonstrations entirely. They might shift to generating their own physical data to solve tasks we never even prompted. Next, the 4 families of action models. Subscribe if you want it when it lands.